Hello there and welcome to RRD, which is the short version for Robert Ramirez Designs. And I think by now you can already guess my name. Yes, it's Robert Ramirez. So right now we have a special project that we are going to do, and that is a new visual identity design for a cosmetic company. And my job is to accurately and effectively represent the identity of the brand in a visual design. And you probably be wondering what it is exactly. Well, these are the logos, colors, brand patterns, and all of this will be the primary inspiration for what will be the long-term vibe of the packaging, marketing collaterals, website, and the design of the environment. All of this will be compiled in a single brand book where everything will be archived and will be useful for future references. Okay, enough talk, let's get started. Even though I'm still going to talk all throughout the video. Okay, so first things first, before we go to the design phase, first we will need to get to know the brand first. And to get to know the brand, we will actually ask some few questions to the client. And usually this is what we call a client brief or a customer brief. They would usually already there are some clients that would actually provide their designers already a finished brief, but some clients don't. So usually us designers would actually have a list of questions that we will ask them, and their answer will be very helpful for us to come up with a very much a foundational idea that our final designs will carry, that we will basically deliver to them. So first things first, I want you guys to take note that this is not going to be a real company, a real client. This is just going to be a concept, but I just want to showcase you guys in this video that what will be the initial process of me creating a visual identity design for all of my clients in the future. Okay, so now we're gonna go to our first question, and that is, as a Defines Cosmetics employee, what can you say about the brand? So this first question is very essential to get to know the perspective and the point of view of those people, adding extra information that could paint a better picture in my mind of what really what's the goal the brand is going for. So their answer to that question is that Defines Cosmetics is a beauty brand that focuses on bringing positivity when it comes to cosmetics, rather than showing a sense of class that actually puts a little bit of pressure to the customers. So moving on to our second question is that, is the brand considered luxurious, reliable, or just simple? Now, when it comes to the luxurious, that is actually just scratched. It's going to be scratched out already because of the answer, or because of their answer to the first question. This question mostly aligns to what will be their target audience is. So their answer to that second question is that Defines Cosmetics is not focusing on being the most expensive or being the most cheapest, but focuses on putting an appropriate price for a well-made product. Let's move on to our third question, and that is, if a brand were a person, how can you describe him? So this specific question focuses more on the brand behavior and helps me to actually create a vibe that fits of what kind of attitude Defines have. So their answer to the third question is very cheerful, always have a smile, and never fails to fill the room with energy. Our fourth question is, what is the reason for the visual shift? Everything has its purpose. Shifting, basically changing the overall visual identity is a major step for any businesses out there, either small or big. Their answer to the fourth question is that a new meaning, shifting from a luxury brand to an all-around brand. Moving on to our fifth question is that, what makes Defines different from the others in the industry? So this is such a classic business question, as it is very important for me to know what will be the secret sauce of the brand, to really centralize and focus the vibe of the design into that single advantage. So their answer to the fifth question is that everyone can make a quality product, But Defiance is more focused on experience, where they would tend to make the customer feel cherished and loved, which actually puts a smile on their faces, which Defiance is all about, smiles. So for our last question is, what other brand out there is very similar to Defiance in terms of feels, vibes, and overall visual appearance? This question would consolidate all of the answers from the previous questions. Make it as a question that concludes all. Even though we have absorbed a lot of information from all of the previous questions, it's still important to at least get an example to get to see the idea as a whole. So their answer to the last question is Shelly Lentivoline, as you can see, which are all very colorful, bright, and very playful, which Defiance wanted to incorporate and elevate those specific vibes fully. So with all, since we already have the client brief, with all of the questions answered, all of the specific information that we are going to need to start with the project, we are now going to come up with the characteristics of the brand. And with all of those answers, I've come up with 3 characteristics of Defiance Cosmetics, and that is bright, playful, and very much welcoming. So let's get started with, actually let's go through the design phase. Of course, with every element that we are going to design, we are going to actually go through what we call brainstorming or sketching. So let's actually get started at the very most prominent element of the visual identity design, and that is the logo, which is the primary symbol of the brand. So I will be sketching potential ideas, usually just brainstorming potential patterns time to time, but it is better to actually consult with your client to avoid major revisions if in case the client is not feeling it. But as a designer, you should not just say yes to every feedback of the client. It is a must to ensure that you would at least try to explain every design decisions that you've made. Remember why the client hired you, is that through your expertise you will be able to guide them on the most appropriate design decisions for their new visual identity design. It is better to make this investment of theirs very worthwhile and would make this last for a very long time. So with all of the sketches that I have done, I've come up with a very potential pattern that would symbolizes and very much represent what Defiance is all about, and that's the swirl design. This really evokes the characteristics of the brand that we come up with earlier. It is very soft, very curved, nothing too aggressive. It doesn't showcase any kind of cold attitude. It's not too serious, and it does not represent anything that is very exclusive and luxurious, which is very much perfect to the characteristics that come up, which is playful, bright, and welcoming. Plus, very design of the swirl that I've made is very much perfect to represent the letter D from the word Defiance, which is the name of the brand. So now that we have the idea, it's time to turn it into a vector graphic or a vector file. Of course, there are a variety of software that we can use. The software that we all know, which is the industry standard, and that's Adobe Illustrator. But there's actually the second most popular one, that is called Affinity Designer, which I will be using. Now, you can actually choose any software that you would like, but you do want to keep in mind that there are certain limitations when it comes to using certain softwares that does not support universal file types such as SVG or something like PSD. You do want to keep in mind when it comes to collaborating with other designers, you should at least be ready to have some workarounds to be able to work with them seamlessly. But then again, I will be using Affinity Designer because again there's not going to be a certain issues when it comes to actually giving all of the necessary file types to the client, because Affinity Designer actually supports BSD, SVG, and a lot of other file types that are very much universal and very much can be open to all of the Adobe Creative Suite. So with the logo already looking good, it's time to move on, or to go to the next important element, and that's the colors. So having primary colors are very much essential when it comes to a brand. This is because it allows the brand to own a certain finish where it can be very memorable to all of their past clients. So take a look at McDonald's. They actually intentionally make the packaging of their fries in a very bright red color. Well, as you can see, this actually makes it very prominent every time their customers would actually buy it. So with that in mind, let's actually experiment with some hues. Again, before experimenting with some hues, we are going to actually still take note of the characteristics that we've concluded with. Now, I was thinking of the colors should be very bright, very loud, and very vibrant. I'm actually thinking of not just having one primary color, but having several based on the product categories that Defiance will be offering, such as sunscreen, makeup, skincare. I do want to keep the wash-based products and sunscreen products separate to the primary color of skincare. Now, a color palette can be abundant, but sometimes having too much can mean less, because having too many colors within your palette can actually destroy consistency. Always make sure that every element has a purpose to exist, because beautiful designs, or should I say professional designs, are not just for the sake of looks, but to effectively showcase the story and the meaning, which all in all always ended up being a unique and overall beautiful design. There are actually certain rules that all of designers actually follow when it comes to creating the color palette of the brand. There should be a primary color, a secondary color, and an accent. Now, the primary color should be the most prominent color when it comes to all of your digital and physical assets. Of course, the secondary color can have an exemption from this, and then the accent color is actually only used for detailing, such as highlights and the color of the buttons in the user interface. So this is the color palette that I have actually come up with for Defiance Cosmetics. This is it. And since our color palette is looking good, I think it's time to move on to the next element of the visual identity design. So our next element for the visual identity design is that this is what we actually use to evoke emotions when it comes to literature, and that is typography. Now, a lot of thought should be put onto this, as this will be all over the place. This will be actually at your digital assets and your physical assets, such as posters, letterheads, business cards, and many more. It's time to take the time to think about what will be the one for something like Defiance Cosmetics. Now, when it comes to brainstorming, we already know that we're not doing anything that is serif. We're only going to be using sans serif. And not only that, we're actually be thinking of two font families, which is mostly going to be for text for readability and also for our headlines. So when it comes to providing the appropriate fonts for a specific brand or for a specific visual identity design, there's actually two routes that you can go with this. There's a route where you can have a quality source, much like Adobe Fonts and Google Fonts, but there's also another route which is very tedious and very challenging, and that is creating your own customized fonts. Now, again, this could customized fonts can go a very long way. It can really provide you that the most bespoke visual identity design, as it is really tailored for all of the characteristics of the brand. But we're not going with that route for now, as I already have something for Defiance Cosmetics. So this is the fonts that I have chosen for Defiance Cosmetics. It is Gill Sans and Avenir. Now that our logo, color palette, and typography have already been decided and ready to test how it's gonna look together, we need another element. Now with that said, visual identity design is not really that strict. It really depends on the brand and how it will benefit from certain design elements. But with the case of Defiance Cosmetics, focusing on bringing positive energy, or basically a positive energetic experience, we need brand patterns. Now, this pattern really enhances and expands the overall visual presence of a specific brand. Take a look at Adidas. What would you instantly think of the brand of the hoodie if it has a three-stripe pattern? It's Adidas, right? Again, with every element that we've designed and come up with, always think again of the characteristics that we come up with Defiance Cosmetics, because this would really help you come up with an idea that will be close to what the client would like to end up with. When it comes to the brand pattern, I was thinking of a specific design pattern that would be repetitive and could easily expand on any canvas. As I was playing with the design of the logo, I found out that it's very versatile and can easily be made as a repetitive pattern. And with that, I have been able to come up with actually 4 different brand patterns, and with it being 4 different brand patterns is actually so amazing, because it's actually matching the 4 primary colors that I've come up with within our color palette. So it's actually the yellow, green, pink, and the blue, but of course yellow being the signature color, of course. With that, 4 different brand patterns that I've come up with actually are inspired with the idea of the skincare, sunscreen, makeup, and then the wash-based products. So those are the reasons why I've come up with 4 different patterns, and it can be used to complement the 4 primary colors that we have in our color palette. Now that we have all of the elements decided, we're now going to test it on various mockups to really see if we're going to stick with it or we're going to add it to our visual identity. It is not an element, but it's a very important way to showcase our final design successfully. Now, 3D mockups can be the products itself, like the packaging and the paper bags. Of course, you can have a very extra 3D mockup, and that's an interior design, which can really showcase the what would be the final vibe and feel of a specific environments like office spaces, and in the case of Defiance Cosmetics, a shop mockup. Okay, so with all of it already designed, it's time to compile it and really showcase it if it's really viable to be the visual representation of the brand, and to really make the client proud to present it to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you Defiance Cosmetics. Now this project has been such a ride. We've been exploring, testing, compiling, and then showcasing. We've not just made a brand that actually looks cool and very pleasant to the eyes, but based on the definition of what the brand is all about. What it is, what's the purpose of it. Having a foundation of ideas would allow us to kickstart a visual identity design project easily and accurately to the goals of the client. Now do consider that the whole branding process goes beyond visuals. This is just a part of the brand, but an essential one to basically make the existence of the brand possible. And that is basically the visual identity. Now this is Project Defiance. It has been really fun. I do take note that this is not a real company and a real client. This is just a way for me to showcase that this is what I will usually be doing to solve and connect the brand's purpose or story in a visual way. This is RRD, Robert Ramirez Designs, the House of Visual Identities.